I'm Dr. Tay with modernmedicinewoman.com, and today we're combating COVID-19 with Dr. John Chen. Dr. John Chen is a recognized authority in both Western pharmacology and Chinese herbal medicine. He's taught pharmacology and herbology at various academic institutions around the United States. An internationally recognized author, Dr. John Chen is also well known for educational seminars on herb-drug interactions. And recently, John, you've emerged as a leading expert on COVID-19. So I want to be able to talk a little bit about traditional Chinese medicine. A lot of our listeners are really not familiar with it. And traditional Chinese medicine is a system of medicine that effectively treats various medical conditions. It dates back thousands of years, and in the Western world, many people are familiar with acupuncture. When I was in Shenyang, China, doing clinical rotations in the hospital, acupuncture was only offered in the neurology department and the department of surgery. But the herbs were everywhere. In most hospital departments, patients went to their doctor for herbal medicine. There were herbal IVs, and the pharmacy was amazing. It was split right down the middle. Half was herbal medicine, the other half pharmaceutical drugs. And as TCM doctors, we'd prescribe one or both depending on what the patients needed. So Dr. Chen, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us. You practice both pharmacology and Chinese herbal medicine. So can you share and explain the main differences between pharmacology and Chinese herbal medicine?
Well, they are, in the end, really trying to do the same thing. Chinese herbal medicine or traditional Chinese medicine as a whole really is thousands of years of empirical observation followed by, clinical trial and error. So they, the doctors in the past would observe what's wrong with the patient and what got them better, and and whatever that works is passed down from generation to generation, and whatever that doesn't work is then thrown away. Then what happened is a lot of the explanation of how the herbs or acupuncture or other modality work is explained with a language that's similar to the Chinese culture and Chinese philosophy. So I'm sure a lot of the listeners are familiar with terms like yin and yang and qi and so on and so forth. So those are the terms that the Chinese population are familiar with. So they understand what the medicine is trying to do. Then what happened is a lot of the herbs have since then been converted to drugs. And in fact, a lot of drugs come from natural sources, definitely beyond just the Chinese herbs. And then what happened is the Westerner tends to be more familiar with science and scientific terms. So they have their own language, they have their own nomenclatures, and that's how Western science communicates. But in the end, what happened is a lot of the medicines are really the same, and what they are treating is also the same. Just that the language may be different, but the goals are really in common.
It's interesting because when I was in a pharmacology class, my professor had been doing pharmacology for probably 20 to 30 years at that time, and he had a compound phaRmacy, and he was pretty much treating mostly women that were experiencing symptoms of menopause, hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness. And after years of teaching at the school, no student had really introduced him to Chinese herbal medicine. So he was teaching just very specifically Western pharmacology. But I remember introducing him to Chinese herbs, taking him in, looking at the class or the category of herbs that treat yin, nourish yin. And he was amazed at the different chemical compositions of the herbs. And it was almost completely new to him that they were doing the same thing. So it's really interesting to see when somebody has biomedical training, we don't realize it, but a lot of biomedical training, there's no introduction to herbal medicine.
Yeah, well, what happened is Western pharmacology actually started out with roots in botanical medicine and natural medicine. But what happened is in the last 20, 30, 40 years or so, the botanical sources of medicine have been slowly phased out, and that's being replaced with basically, synthetic or chemical medicine. But what happened is, even though that's the case, a lot of the inspirations for medicine really come from natural sources. And I think one of the best examples, obviously, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'll give you a couple of examples. One is the drugs that's being talked about frequently, chloroquine and hydrochloroquine. They both come from natural sources. They come from the bark of a tree called cinchona tree. And that's the tree that the native Southern Americans have been used to treat malaria for a long time. So when they discovered the active component, then that was made into drug for treating malaria. But at this time, it's also used for treating COVID-19 because the chloroquine and hydrochloroquine does alter the pH of the cells and therefore affect how the virus can effectively enter the lung cells and replicate. Okay, so that's one example of drug that came from natural sources that most people may not be aware of. Another more general example is there's a book called The Sanford's Guide to Antimicrobial Therapy, and it talks about many of the drugs that are commonly used to treat infectious diseases today. And what happened is on the very front cover of the book, there are two Chinese characters, and the Chinese characters are 治病, which means heart diseases. And the inside front cover of the book gives credit to Chinese medicine that historically Chinese doctors would describe all the infection and inflammatory conditions as heart condition, because for these patients, they often have fever, they have inflammation, they have elevated body temperature, increased heart rate, hurried respiration, and so on. And all these are traits or signs and symptoms of infection. Okay, but because in the past, these doctors could not see the bacteria, they could not see the virus. So they describe basically with their eyes what they see. So what we know today basically is the heart diseases are often the infection and inflammatory conditions, and the herb that have been used in the past, the cold, the bitter type of herbs for treating these conditions, in fact, are the sources of many antibiotics and anti-inflammatory drugs. So once again, our terminologies may be different, but in the end, we're trying to describe the same thing and treat the same thing. So in the end, medicine is medicine. There's really no border from one to the other.
That's a really great point. And there are over 118 prescription drugs that are based on natural sources, according to the Ecology Society of America. And Dr. Chen, your published text, Chinese Medical Herbology and Pharmacology, is a really great resource that shows the chemical composition, the pharmacological effects, the clinical research, and the herb-drug interactions of so many Chinese medicinal herbs. I think it's such a great resource for people to be able to look at and really compare what is available. I appreciate Chinese medicine so much because we're all individuals. We have similar symptoms and, diseases progress in a very similar pattern, but we're all unique. And I think with COVID-19, that's what's so interesting for me to see. As a licensed acupuncturist and board certified herbalist, we've been trained to look at the etiology and then to treat the disease pattern and to really focus on prevention as well. And so, in our system of medicine and biomedicine, we're oftentimes prevention is definitely a focus, but we're really looking at treating the disease. And so can you speak a little bit more about kind of the phases of COVID-19 and what the public, our listeners, can do as far as prevention? And then if they are starting to get symptoms, what you would recommend?
Okay. Well, let me first describe the big difference in this case between Chinese medicine and Western medicine when it comes to COVID-19. Obviously, COVID-19 is caused by a virus called the novel coronavirus or novel SARS coronavirus 2019. And because of its novel nature, there is really no specific treatment for this virus. So there's no specific antiviral agent that will treat this virus, and there's also no vaccination available at this time. So what Western medicine is trying to do is everything it can to help to support the patient because there's no direct treatment. Okay, so they will give anti-inflammatories to help to bring down the inflammation, antipyretic to help to bring down the fever, and then maybe ventilators, type of things to support the patient. And they are hoping to support the patient so their body can heal and recover on its own until, someday in the near future when we have something more specific for the virus. And all those supportive treatment is actually what Chinese medicine have always tried to do the whole time, because Western medicine tries to always look for the one thing, whether to treat the virus, to treat the enzyme or the receptors or neurotransmitter. So Western medicine always tries to go in with a laser focus to treat just one thing. And if they succeed, they will be very successful. But if they fail, if they misfire, then chances are they're going to be very far off. Chinese medicine, on the other hand, generally tends to look at the entire patient and how to treat and support the entire patient. So what happens is you have a lot of general signs and symptoms associated with COVID-19, and also the virus tends to more specifically affect and attack the respiratory system, mainly your lung. So what happens is Chinese medicine will try to treat a patient that has a disease. And once they treat and support the patient and the patient is able to have better health, then what happens is that will enable their own immune system to then have a chance to fight against the virus. Okay, so basically Western medicine always try to treat the virus itself, and Chinese medicine try to help the patient so they can help themselves to recover from the virus.
So being able to do preventative measures, this is one of the first times in so many generations that we've been told to not go to the hospital, not go to our physician's office, and people are at home trying to figure out what they can do. So I know when I was in East Asian medical school, I remember hearing a professor say, any doctor can treat disease. It's the master physician who can prevent it. And I think it's so important right now that people take responsibility for their health and be able to implement things that can get them through this and get them set up for their body to really prevent and fight COVID-19. When we're talking about the use of hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin in some of the research studies that are being done, I'm always interested in how, when I look at an active ingredient of a pharmaceutical, what category it's in the materia medica in Chinese herbology, and if it's possible to reverse engineer the pharmaceuticals. So I'm curious if you have any insight in the use of potentially using zinc or quercetin, which is actually huihua and a zinc ionophore, in combination, that we can use that preventatively. Would that combination of supplements or herbs help to prevent COVID-19?
Well, I think you're right. I think prevention is by far the most important thing, and I think by this time, most people are already familiar on what their basic responsibilities are. And that is, social distance, try to not get into a big crowd, wash your hands frequently, wear a mask, wear gloves, all those things are very, very important. But I think what's also very important is, in addition to the physical separation, I think it's very important to make sure our own health is at a maximum level as much as possible. And that means whatever that may contribute to lack of immunity or to weakness, we should identify what it is and try to address that as much as possible. So that means if somebody has insomnia, if somebody has chronic pain, maybe a lot of stress, those underlying conditions should be treated and balanced as much as possible, because obviously lack of sleep, too much chronic pain, too much stress can all weaken your body and suppress your immune system. Then on top of that, if they have some pre-existing conditions, whether it's cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and so on, make sure that's managed as optimally as possible. So all these things will help the patient stay stronger and be less likely to actually contract the disease. And then on top of that, there are a lot of dietary supplements, a lot of Chinese herbs that will work very well to boost the immune system. And obviously, some examples, readers may or may not be familiar with them. Some examples may include astragalus, which is a Chinese herb, Ganoderma, which is a mushroom. Ginseng is also effective. Okay, so these are herbs that most patients can take short term, and that will boost their immune system. All right, so that will help them to fight off the virus when they come across it. So these are the ones that help the body to help itself. Then on top of that, there are also herbs that have a antiviral effect as well. So some of the common ones are Lonicera flower, Forsythia fruit, or Huttalania herba or herb. Okay, so these are some of the herbs that historically were used to clear wind heat or clear heat. But today, through a lot of pharmacological research, we know herbs like that have great antibacterial and also antiviral effect. And in this case, have also been shown to fight against the virus as well. So basically what happens is if you take herbs that help to boost your immune system, you take herbs to fight off the virus, and you also do all the physical protection type of things that in a way, will encompass a triangle of the best ways to help you from avoid getting an infection, right? So you have physical separation, so you have minimal chance and exposure to the virus. You have herbs that help to boost your immune system, and also herbs to help to fight out the virus directly. Because I think in the end, what happened is all these things that we're doing, social distancing, separation, isolation, and so on, will help to flatten the curve. But in the end, when we do resume our normal lives, my guess is most people will be exposed to the virus at some point, either now or later at some point, because we are all social animals. We all come in contact with one another at some point. And in fact, I remember the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, basically told the German citizens that 70% of us will all be exposed to COVID-19 at some point. So chances are that holds true for the U.S. Americans as well. So we are all going to be exposed to it at some point. If we flatten the curve, obviously less people will need to be hospitalized at one time, so the healthcare system can handle it. If we all do those three things that I mentioned earlier, that means hopefully when we're exposed to it, less people will need to be hospitalized as well. The general statistic is that 80% of the people that are positive for COVID-19 don't need to go to the hospital. Only 20% do. So if we do more to strengthen our body, to increase its ability to fight out the virus, hopefully that 20% will be reduced further. So there's less damage to our own health and less pressure on the healthcare system.
Absolutely. And I can't say it enough how important it is to have people work if they have questions about what they can do. So many people we're seeing on the grocery shelves, zinc being gone, vitamin C being gone, vitamin D. People are just kind of grabbing what they think might work. And I think it's such an important time to connect with a licensed acupuncturist or board certified herbalist. I'm going to be posting resources where people can find licensed medical providers to offer more individual consults to help them prepare for COVID-19, because you're right, we are going to have to come out of our homes at one point, and it's not going to go away. This is something that we just need to prepare for and get as healthy as possible. And definitely Chinese herbs, medicinal foods, so much of what traditional Chinese medicine offers as a medical system can really help support us through this pandemic. Dr. John Chen, I had a question on your thoughts. There's an FDA-approved drug, ivermectin, to inhibit the replication of COVID-19 in vitro. Now, this has not really come out. We're still looking at preliminary studies, but ivermectin is in the anthelmintic class of medications, which is a group of antiparasitic drugs that expel parasitic worms and other internal parasites from the body by either stunning or killing them without causing significant damage to the host. Now, we don't hear a lot about this class of medications, but as a licensed acupuncturist, This drug class sounded really familiar to the herbs that expel parasites category found in our Materia Medica. Will you share your insights on this form of treatment and how it's used in Chinese herbal treatments, or if it's been considered at all in what reports you've gotten from treatments used in Chinese hospitals?
Okay. Well, I think what's going on now is there is a worldwide race trying to find what is the most effective treatment. And obviously, this COVID-19 pandemic started in China. So in a way, they are the ones that suffer first, but they are also the first one that try to tackle this problem. Okay, so in China, they generally do two things. They generally will use both Chinese herbal medicine and also Western medicine at the same time. And a lot of herbs have been tried. So some of the herbs that I mentioned earlier are the ones among that have been studied. There's also a herbal formula that they found to be effective, and that herbal formula, the pinyin name is called Qing Fei Pai Du Tang, which literally means lung cleansing and detoxifying decoction. And what it's trying to do is to support the patient as a whole, like we mentioned, to dilate the lung, to help them with breathing, to reduce inflammation, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, all the patients generally get standard Western medicine treatment, and that includes the antivirals, remdesivir, ritonavir. That includes anti-inflammatories, maybe steroids, acetaminophen, Tylenol for treating fever, and so on. And they are also doing a lot of testing on a lot of novel treatments. So they try chloroquine, hydrochloroquine, azithromycin, and so on. So these are drugs that were originally used as anti-malarial and antibacterial, but nonetheless, like I mentioned, there's no specific treatment. So they are trying everything else to see what or how they may help. I haven't read specific studies regarding the treatment that you talked about earlier. So until I do, then I'm not ready to talk about that one. But in any case, there are lots of studies everywhere, and I think in a few months from now, we will have a much better idea what the best candidates are as far as drug-wise. That will give us the maximum effect and the minimum side effect.
Perfect. And John, can you clear up something for us? Because in TCM in the United States, fact or fiction, I've read some articles written by American and European journalists that discuss the use of endangered animal species in traditional Chinese medicine. Now, as a practitioner and American acupuncturist, I have never seen this in any of the formulas. Are endangered animals used in Chinese herbal formulas in the United States?
I don't believe so. That issue has come up, every once in a while. But at this point in time, all the endangered animals are not used in Chinese herbal medicine at all. Historically, you're probably referring to the bear gallbladder or pangolin or tiger bones and so on. But like I said, they are not used at all in the United States.
As far as readers go and as far as listeners go, I think that that's a really important fact to share because TCM can offer so much support to the general public. And there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of outdated information, and I appreciate you clearing that up. I know that there's good manufacturing practices, there's rigorous testing that happens in the United States, and you guys have an amazing company, very, very trustworthy products. And so I think it's important for, again, our listeners to know who to go to, the licensed acupuncturist, board certified herbalist that can help support them. And then also the companies that practitioners are working with are qualified and have really great safe practices in place to make sure that the products that we offer are safe. They are 100% what is written on the bottle, and that practitioners know the dosage. That's another thing that a lot of people don't realize, that is dosing information. Each formula is dosed individually, oftentimes for for different people. And so the safety, the quality, the potency of the herbs are crucial factors in determining treatment outcome, is what you say on your website, Dr. John Chen.
Yeah, I was just going to, second your what you just said, and that is, obviously it's good for the, listener to be proactive about their own health, right? To do as much research as possible and to be directly involved, But at the same time, the licensed acupuncturists and herbalists, they have gone through many, many years of education, So for the more complicated issues, or if the listener wants a second opinion, obviously these healthcare practitioners are the best resources to go to as far as what are the best things to do, what are the best supplements to take, and so on. And also, Chinese herbs are considered dietary supplement in the United States, and they are actually under very strict manufacturing guidelines established by the FDA. So generally speaking, safety is not a concern as long as they are manufactured and prescribed properly by the healthcare practitioners.
Excellent. And Dr. John Chen, before you go, could you share any words of wisdom or advice with our audience?
I think the most important thing is just to stay positive and remember that this, like everything else, shall pass. Okay, so most of us are home, probably at this, for a long time and for a little bit longer. But continue to, keep updated on what you can do, what are the best way to protect yourself and also your family. There are many, many healthcare practitioners, both Western medicine and traditional Chinese medicine and others, that if the listeners have any question, they can definitely consult with them. Some of them may be home. Some of them may have a website. They have email access, So we are all here to help, and we are all in this together.
We are, and thank you so much for joining us and sharing your medical expertise and insights with us. And I'll be posting more information on the website and research findings and some of the formulas that you mentioned as well.
All right, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
For more information or to schedule a consult with one of our licensed medical providers, go to modernmedicinewoman.com.